Welcome to the Crystal Coach Show with me, your host, Anahata, helping you live every day with clarity, guidance, and practical wisdom. Are you feeling overwhelmed, anxious, maybe disconnected? Do you ever feel like you don't know how to live a life of peace and joy? I am Anahata Roach, the Crystal Coach, and during this show, we channel divine wisdom through stories of service, spirituality, and stones for self-care. The Crystal Coach Show leaves you with a feeling of connection and the clarity that takes towards becoming the best version of yourself as you hear from thought leaders and many others to help you ignite the crystalline nature of who you really are. Stay tuned. The Crystal Coach Show starts now. Welcome to the Crystal Coach Show. I'm your host, Anahata, and also welcome to the new Transformation Talk Revolution, part of the Transformation Network. If you can actually now experience my show in a whole new way at ttrnetwork.com, especially when you want to watch live. And as you connect with me, and you can also connect with me in real time. So all you have to do is click that player button and hit ask to join the conversation. Okay, so if you are right now or ever have been in a virtual prison of fear, this episode is for you. Take it from me. Being encased in a prison of fear is no fun, and sometimes it feels like there's no escape from it. But yeah, there's hope, and I'm here to share that with you. Really, there's an ancient Chinese curse. It says, "May you live in interesting times." Friends, these are interesting times, aren't they? Yeah. But to me, it doesn't have to be a curse. It can be a blessing. It really depends on how you perceive it. So today we are tackling the energy of fear. I'll be offering you some tools and perspectives to practice that can help you shift out of fear long enough to recognize when you are in that energy and take steps to refocus on a more positive outlook. The key is redirecting your thoughts and actions as well. We'll wrap up today's exploration, as usual, with crystal and stone recommendations that help alleviate stress and anxiety, as well as promote a sense of calm and peace. Then I will offer mini crystal readings for callers during the show, the live show, if you're watching on recording, sorry. And so there's really something for everyone today. Let's start with defining fear. Fear is energy. We all know what fear feels like. It's heavy, like a chain around your neck, or it feels like a vice grip around your middle, making it really hard to breathe. As a thought, fear is even more threatening because the energy of the thought can become reality. Placing energy on a feared outcome can actually bring it into reality. Take the people who describe themselves as realists. While it may be prudent to prepare for any kind of emergency scenario, when the fear of an outcome becomes an obsession, that very outcome is likely to manifest. Zombie apocalypse, anybody? Yeah, no. So what is real to the realists is what their thoughts and actions are calling into the physical.
By focusing solely on what is not wanted, collectively, enough minds can bring that worst case scenario into being. And this is kind of why I was called to talk to you about mindfulness versus the prison of fear, because it's a battle only you can win. It's an individual thing. Yes, and collectively, if we're all focusing on the worst case scenario, we can collectively bring it into being. But if individuals, we can do our part to recognize that we are in that place, we're in that energy of fear, and it's not to protect us, it's just anxiety or just we're stressing ourselves out because of what's on the news or what's going on in the world or what's going on around us. And we feel that actual fear coming through us. That's where we can stop. That's where we can reflect on just like it's almost like if you have a built-in like fear meter, you'd have to practice that, right? You'd have to try to create one within you so that you could actually detect when you have a thought, a random thought, or the same thought keeps coming up, keeps coming up. And if you get a place where you can recognize, oh, I'm doing that again, I'm doing that again, then you can actually stop the process. You can stop that thought. I feel that if the fertile field of the universe is going to grab a hold of a thought seed and plant it, but you got a grace period about 15-30 seconds. So you catch yourself in that, you go, no, 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 that's not what I wanted to do. It's kind of like the Etch-a-Sketch. You just no, and it erases that thought and from the field, and it doesn't get planted. So the sooner you can grab it and erase it, the better off you'll be. But uh, just learning to do that, to catch yourself in that fear-based cycle and say, no, no, I'm not going to go there today. Um, that can help break this collective uh, movement towards a worst case scenario. I hope that makes sense, but that's what I was feeling, seeing the news, seeing, just a lot of my clients and my friends and my family so upset and so negative that I felt compelled to talk about, yes, we can do some things to counter that. Um, and it doesn't have to be getting out there with a sign. Yes, by all means, if you feel called to do that, do that. But if you can just regulate your own energy in a way that doesn't place a premium on that fear-based outcome, the less it doesn't get any stronger. It can weaken it over time. So holding space for the highest and best good of any kind of scenario, whatever's in the highest and best good, may it be so. And that thought of holding space for the highest good rather than being in the fear has shifted your energy. Let me give you a couple of examples of what I meant by you can manifest what you don't want. So, for example, Jenny, the youngest of four siblings, was absolutely terrified that she would develop Alzheimer's like her father did. And that fear, I mean, she carried that with her for a long time, and that fear was always in the back of her mind. She made references to it very often. So in her early 60s, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And her other siblings are fine. Even one with the markers for Alzheimer's is fine. It is that energy of the fear of having it that actually was had the opposite kind of effect. It didn't protect her, it drew it to her. Another example is Frank, who a former work colleague of mine. He lost his dad when he was very, very young to a rare form of leukemia. So growing up without a dad was devastating to him. And he vowed to himself that he would always keep his body in great physical shape and always follow a strict, healthy diet. He even refused to think about getting married until he was past the age at which his own father had died. But once he got married, he, you know, he fathered 2 children and was just really enjoying life. And then he developed the same leukemia that had taken his father. He did all the right things. Why would that happen? Because perhaps his motivation, his focus and purpose was not to get the disease. See what I mean? Was not to get the disease. When you focus your purpose on not, you can get the very thing that you not want. It was where his fear energy was directing. He was directing that fear energy into the universe, into that universal field of not. He did not want to get the disease. And so that it's like, it's a subtle difference, but it's a difference between a positive outlook and outcome and a negative one. Now, some people would say, well, it was in his DNA. He was fated to get it. Who knows? But he didn't do himself any favors by always focusing on not wanting to get it. Just like Jenny did not want to get Alzheimer's. But she became so very anxious about the possibility of her getting Alzheimer's that she was always looking for it and always afraid of, oh, does that mean, and then lo and behold, I actually was with her in the car one day, and right after her diagnosis, and we had gone to the grocery store. And we get back in the grocery store, and we were having a really good conversation and having a lot of time. And she turned on the ignition. She put her hands on the wheel, and her shoulder slumped. I said, "What's the matter, hon?" She said, "I don't remember how to get home." So that's, it's tragic, but these are, in my experience, these are actual ways in which people have totally called to them the very thing they did not want. Fear then becomes a limiting belief energy that literally limits your options. Whether your fear is of heights or of elevators, of stairs, of bridges over water, of disease or dying, or whatever, you have put yourself in a type of prison. You're unable to escape or enjoy the fullness of life. This actually happened to me a long, long time ago, and I am probably revealing how ancient wisdomed I am by telling you that this was back in the days of the weapons of mass destruction. You all will have to Google that. But there was a big fear that a country in the Middle East had a weapon of mass destruction. And so there was an unprecedented attack on the capital of that country. The reason given is that they had weapons of mass destruction, and they were about to use it on the United States. Well, that was the propaganda at the time. And I bought into it hook, line, and sinker. I was afraid. I was terrified of the invasion because I had completely convinced myself that we were going to get blown up, that the atomic bomb was going to come and it was just going to blow everybody up and we were all going to die. And my son was very young, and his dad and I had joint custody, and he wasn't with me. So, it was just, I was gripped in such agony and angst over that I literally put myself in this prison of fear. Now, for me, fortunately, that didn't manifest. But I wasn't in the prison of fear for like all of my life, right? It was just that one-off kind of thing. But I know what it's like to feel so helpless and so powerless and so afraid that I just want to curl up into a fetal position and throw the covers over my head. And that's what I'm talking about when the emotion and the energy of fear overtakes you. It's like you put yourself in this dungeon or this well or this deep hole, and you can't find a way out. And this is what this is all about today, helping you find a way out. Let's take a quick break now, and when we come back, I'll share some tools for escaping that prison of fear. And be sure to go to the ttrnetwork.com and find the Ask button to comment or queue up for the mini readings later. I'm Anahata Roach, and this is The Crystal Coach Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Crystal Coach Show. I'm your host, Anahata, and today we are talking about escaping the prison of fear versus mindfulness versus tools for escaping. I told you at the break that I was going to come back with some tools that you can use when you find yourself gripped in that fear that is paralyzing. So the first one, tool that I want to explore with you is breath work. I'm sure some of you have heard of it, and those of you who haven't, I'll just give you a little quick overview. Sometimes the best cure for being afraid is to breathe. Fear catches our breath. It holds it and threatens to suffocate us. But if you can remember that refocusing your mind takes only one purposeful, mindful breath, you can escape that trap. Taking 3 slow, deep, mindful breaths is even better. Starting your day with a few minutes of measured box breathing, where you go in through the nose for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale from the mouth for 4, and hold for 4. That's a great way to center and program your nervous system for calm. A mind that's truly focused on breathing cannot wander off into fear-based territory. So if you sit with an intention to start your day with peace and breathe into that, you can do that for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. Start with 1 breath and expand from there. Let's do this together. We just have 1 breath. So we're going to do a box breathing. We're going to go in for 4 with our nose and hold it for 4 up here. And then Exhale for 4 and hold it here. Now, when I ask you to breathe, I'm asking you to start from your belly and then fill up your chest. Okay? So here we go. Ready? In for 4. Hold. Out. Hold. How is that? Did it make you feel a little more in your body? It did me. Can you imagine if you do it for a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes continuously? How much more centered you can be? It's easy. All you have to do is focus your mind on breathing, and then the mind will stay there on the breathing instead of wandering off into fear. So there's all kinds of ways that you can do breath work, and there's all kinds of people who are expert in breath work that can teach you how. I've just shared what I know. The same goes for somatic exercises. And the somatic is that which is in the body. So this is like using the body to release what's held there. The most common way that people have heard is about EFT, or the tapping on the hand, or like on the top of the head, but the tapping also comes with, affirmations and things that you do. Then that's a way to release those negative thought-based things that you're holding and that keep coming up and you can't really let go of. So, it's like, I am not my negative thoughts. I don't need to see negative all the time. I don't need to hear and interpret the negative as fear. I can do this. I am peaceful. Then you just keep doing affirmations for yourself. And then, there's this vagus nerve activation. Now that can happen with, breath work too, is when you hold your breath, if you've got a really full amount of air in you and you're holding your breath, that not only squeezes the pituitary gland in your brain, but also puts pressure on the vagus nerve, which is holding stress and holding fear, yeah, and anxiety. And so the more you can get that vagus nerve to release, the more peaceful and centered you can become. So, there's all kinds of things that, if you're holding grief, you can just love on yourself. You can start tapping your heart, and just loving and rubbing on your heart and rubbing on your collarbones, because that's where the kidney meridian is. And there's a lot of stuff that's stored there. And then, you just give yourself a hug. Just the joy that's within us when we tap into joy can be held in uncertainty, can be held in grief. You just have to remember to bring it up, to bring it out, to tap into it. Otherwise, you're going to stay in this dysregulated kind of nervous paralyzation. It's the fight or flight, and you can't do anything. You simply sit there in that state. unchain yourself from a dysregulated nervous system. There's a woman on Instagram that I've found to be just really hysterically funny, but she knows her stuff, man. She is a wiry creature with a lot of energy, and she usually comes on her reels running around a corner going, "Hey, fuck nugget." And she talks about the vagus nerve. She talks about regulating your nervous system. She's really good. I tried to find her before I went on today, and I couldn't find, her handle's not a name. I mean, it's a like the painted lady, the painted giraffe, the painted something. It's not the painted giraffe. I looked that up because that's what I thought it was. But at any rate, she is really somebody that I would recommend you taking a look at and following for a few of her reels, because she's got some really helpful exercises, not only with breathing, but also with, certain areas of the body that you can hold and put pressure on, as I said, to release that vagus nerve. Yeah. So that's some of the tools that I told you about that I was going to share with you. But next, we're going to take a break, but we're talking about crystals that support nervous system reset and calm and returning to the heart space. And after that will be our little mini readings with the crystal cards. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Hi there, welcome back to the Crystal Coach Show. I'm your host, Anahata Roach, and I am the Crystal Coach. You can find me at thecrystalcoach.com. We're talking about fear and mindfulness and the tools that you can use to kind of reset your nervous system. But as usual, I always end up my shows with recommendations of stones for self-care. And so since we're talking about the, regulation and calming and grounding and all that sort of stuff, I got a bunch of them. I got a bunch of them for you. So you can take notes. I've got a couple of them that I've never talked to you before about, I don't think. Yeah, this one is called azurine. It's black, and this one has some matrix still on it and some druzy. I think of it as like the X-Men. It's the X-Men's jet. But the energy of azurine is grounding and protective, and it can really make you feel a lot safer if that's what your fear is. Yeah. Then there's another one called Vivianite. Now, Vivianite looks like it's black, but it's actually green and translucent, but you can't see it here on the camera, but it is so beautiful. It is so heart-based and loving, and it brings out that joy and brings out that love inside. That is where we come from and we return to, because we are. So if you're feeling alone, or you're feeling unloved, or you're feeling your fear is that you'll never find anybody for you, I've got more than this, but Vivianite is it's just a rare stone. You probably have to go to a gem and mineral show to find it. I doubt any metaphysical shows, crystals, shops would actually be carrying Vivianite. If they do, they'll be carrying it in small pieces that might be polished. This is actually a raw piece. But yeah, you could probably find it on the internet. Vivianite, Vivianite, Vivianite. And next I've got bloodstone. And I think I've talked to you guys about bloodstone before, because it's a pretty common stone that you can find anywhere. But it is an earth stone, so it helps to ground and it's really, its energies are more for the physical realm, the physical body. And it's really the frequency of courage and facing your fears and doing it anyway. I I came I heard this saying the other day, and the person I heard it from didn't know where it came from, so I have no person or place to attribute it to, but it's really cool. It says, "Fear is a reaction. Courage is a choice." So if you're looking to make a choice and you need that courage, bloodstone will be a really good thing for you. Okay, now, when you're looking to transmute negativity to clear light and ground, black tourmaline, my go-to stone. I don't hardly ever skip them a show without telling you about black tourmaline, because it is just such an all-purpose, wonderful grounding and clearing stone. So if you're holding a lot of stuff in your solar plexus and you feel that grip of fear, the frequencies of black tourmaline will just pull it out and transmute it to clear light. It's a workhorse, and it's one of God's gifts. If you are so up in your head that you really are just starting to like freak out, like, oh my God, you know, try some hematite. Now, this is a raw piece of hematite. It has not been polished, but you can see how shiny it is, right? Hematite reflects. It's also an earth element. It's actually the highest frequency of the earth elements. It's about manifesting your light. So it's bringing that light in. It's a be here now stone. It just helps to go, come back here, be present, stop projecting into the future, stop, repeating the past or looking back there for guidance. Just be present. Be present with yourself so you can be present for others and not be in this kind of projecting all this fear out there into the collective. It's not doing anybody any good. Use the hematite to bring you back to earth. Okay. If you feel, here's another protection stone. This is black obsidian. This particular piece is called snowflake obsidian because it's got these little white dots all over it. But all obsidian is about protection. And the protection is needed when you feel drawn to it, if that makes sense. But it is the womb, it is the blackness, it is the dark where everything goes. It's quite actually grounding and calming and not fearful. So obsidian is also a really good stone for these times. If you really feel stuck, like this thought is not just you've done everything you can do, aquamarine. Aquamarine is a wonderful stone to help you release. It's a water element, so it's very kind of just like, let's just rinse all of that out. Let's just rinse it out because, this thought doesn't need to be here. I need to release this thought from my brain. I need to release this thought from my heart. I need to release this thought from my solar plexus. I need to release this thought from my energy field. That's how you use it. Okay. And you just sit with it. You hold it in your non-dominant hand because that's how you receive its energy, and just allow it to come up with every breath, to just infiltrate your entire energy system, because humans have to come into resonance with stones. It's not the other way around. So let's see here. I got, always the go-to. Anytime you need some self-care, self-love, when you feel alone, when you feel defeated, when you feel like nothing's ever going to go right. Pink tourmaline, pink tourmaline. It's It's so soft. It's also a water element, so it's the energy of it is just like a hug. It's just like a sweet, sweet hug. So there we go. Mm. I've got more. This is actually a piece of flint that I got at a gem and mineral show. Isn't it pretty? It's got these wavy lines in it and everything, but it's pink. And flint is very grounding and protection, but the emotional body, flint is really good at just making calm and bringing it down into the earth and just kind of grounding it in so it's not going off on a tangent. It's a lowly piece, flint is, it's not really highly regarded, but it's got a lot of really good energy. So if you can find yourself a piece of flint, it doesn't have to be this big, just a little bit, little piece, but you can work with it just to kind of like bathe your emotional body in this really, it's going to be okay, honey, kind of feeling. Okay. Well, I have more, but I'd like to have a few minutes to to do any readings if we get some takers. I don't know if we have any takers as yet. So we'll take a quick break to find out, and when we come back, there'll either be more stones or there'll be readings. We'll take a quick break. Hi there, Anahata Roach, the Crystal Coach, and you're watching the Crystal Coach Show. We're back, waiting for some callers. If we don't have any callers, then that's okay. I will do my own card, kind of like mini reading. We're just pulling one card just to kind of, because I want to ask if, I want to ask for guidance around, fear and what can we do to support one another when we feel fear. So I'm just going to quickly just pull a card and see what happens and just what's up in the collective energy for us today as we're talking about escaping the prison of fear and what we might need to know. Oh, we're ready. Okay, let me see. I'm drawing from my deck called the Crystal Ally cards. These are the cards that I learned on. They were designed by my first crystal teacher who had a vision of them and taught me how to read them. And I love them, absolutely love them. Okay, here we go. I'm going to have one card. There it is. One card. Ah, okay. So what we've drawn is the card for Malachite. Malachite is a fire element. It's about creating and manifesting. So the frequency here that we want to address with Malachite is allowing and trusting the divine will. It's thy will, not my will kind of thing. Instead of trying to force something to happen, instead of I don't know, the metaphor would be slamming a round peg in a square hole or a square peg in a round hole, whatever. That is the energy of this card saying, hey, listen, it'll be much easier for you and less stressful and less anxious for you if you can surrender some of that control. You do what you can. It's not like you sit back and go, well, I have no, nothing. I have no involvement now. That's not true. What it's asking you to do is to trust. You do what you can. Say you want to win the lotto, you got to buy a ticket. That's it. The rest is up to the will, right? If you want to get a job, you make sure your resume is current, you do all of the things, you send it out, you follow up, you go on interviews. Everything else is surrendering to the divine will. If it's meant to be, it will be. And so when we're talking about fear and we're talking about versus mindfulness, right? The prison of fear, this is surrendering to divine and not surrendering to fear. So that's the energy that we're looking for in today's episode, is to trust that the universe is always conspiring in our favor, and that it may not look good right now. But if you get out of the weeds and take an eagle-eye view of the landscape, which is changing, but it will change for the better. It may not be this year or next year or even the year after that, but it will happen. And you have to just trust that. So anyway, I'll keep offering these mini readings as we go forward for 2026. But, so if you see this episode and you go, oh, darn, I missed it, we'll have it again. Don't worry. We'll have an opportunity to do little mini readings for others. But if you'd like to feel called to work with me, I can be found at thecrystalcoach.com. I'm also on YouTube as The Crystal Coach and on Insta as Anahata Roach, The Crystal Coach, and Facebook. So find me, reach out to me, and we'll see what we can do together. Until then, thank you for listening to The Crystal Coach Show, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
You have been listening to The Crystal Coach Show, helping you live every day with clarity, guidance, and practical wisdom. With me, your host, Anahata. Tune in every first and third Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time on TransformationTalkRadio.com, where we channel divine wisdom through stories of service, spirituality, and stones for self-care. Feel connected and reside in the vibration of love on The Crystal Coach Show. For more information and to become the best version of yourself, visit thecrystalcoach.com. That's thecrystalcoach.com. See you next time.